crisis and all, you're going good. So without much ado, I'll start my webinar. Let me share my screen first. I hope my screen is visible to all. Just anyone can just speak out and say whether it's visible. Like I'm just using my screen, so I won't be able to see any chats or anything. So is it good?
Dinup Vishal, it's visible. It's good.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So today we will, as Anil sir told, like I have been working in the UI field quite much long in my career. So I thought of like giving an introduction of how that world is, what UX and UI is, and how those things are laid out, different different perspective that is being used for the UI development, or the UI that you see in your everyday life and all. So first thing first, myself, about me, I was a 2010 pass out from Jyoti Engineering College. Have walked in the same corridors that you have walked in, and computer science engineering was my stream. And then 2011 I joined TCS. So see that 1 year gap with all those society questions, faced that a lot. So then started my career as a backend developer, I would say, to be specific, .NET. So the main thing that I was doing was like coding in C# as well as using ASP.NET for the UI. So that's where I was impressed with, okay, this thing looks good. Like this is the place where no matter what big things you make, this is the place that finally what goes in front of the user. So that's how I moved in to UI world. So the first thing, stuff that I was using. So I went into the world of UI during 2012, and the libraries was jQuery, JavaScript, and even that time, like it was kind of a full stack development, but more oriented towards UI. So the backend was just to get the data and feed it. So I was in. So before that, I was a part of a lab in TCS. So there, it's mainly a place where all the thoughts, the POCs happens, which we were the people who will be enabling the thoughts of the big heads like PhDs, and so people. And then moving further up, started using different frameworks. So the main framework that I was working on was EXTJS, which is kind of another framework like Angular, which supports the entire, the CSS, JavaScript, and all those event packages for the UI. And then once then further ahead, was leading the team for UI for 3 years straight. So there were different technologies that I've gone through. I won't say different technologies, but yeah, like knowing things much more better and going in. So that's about me, my travel. So that's the the path that I've traveled, and more to go. It's just senior UI developer. There's a lot of things more to it. So as you see, you would also be mostly hearing these terms: UX, UI. Um, what is it? Okay. So if you had attended a previous session, from one of the presenter, Dylan Davis, he's my classmate, to be specific, benchmate too. So we both were in computer science branch. So he used the same image to explain the backend part, how how big, or how wide the backend world is. So when I saw that talk, I felt that this image perfectly shows what the UX or UI people or that role does. So you would be knowing, like, okay, for the back end you will have, all kind of business logics, the servers, you can scaling it up and down, and all those configurations and heavy business logics which has AI in it, machine learning in it, all those will be happening in the back end. But making all this, at the end is like to give it to a user, a human. Okay, so we are handing over a machine to human. So our mindsets would be like interacting, um, a normal human when they're using a device, like for example our mobile. We will be like trying to figure it out, as if it is as easy to use, so we will be more interested in using it. If it is very very tough, or it's very complicated, then we would just keep it aside. You would have gone through those stages, like for example some applications that you download won't be much good, many ads coming in, and then in other ways, and some will be like very easy to use, and you will be using it a lot, kind of stuff. So the UX UI people are the ones, as you see, creates that fluffy, cute looking teddy in the tube with all the needed colors, and all the uh, all the content and the information properly put in place. Okay, so that's what UX UI generally is. Okay, so that so we'll move it further. So today we will see, like, what are the different terminologies that will be used in UX and all those. So UX, user experience, that's the full form of UX. So user experience is not just is something that is just in the IT world. It is kind of a role that is widely there in other industries as well. For example, if you see, we have the the car dashboard. If you see, like, previously it was just the speedometer that you were having there, and now you have the speedometer, and then the average speed that you go, and then it is more advanced to, you know which gives you directions. So in short, user experience is like, there's another role called product designs. So UX designers and product designers, so there's a fine gap between those people. So user experience would be people who will be mainly focusing on how the customer journey would be for a device or for an application. Okay, so for me, the biggest UX revolution that I've seen is the iPhone. Like, if you see, the if you have seen the first release of iPhone in 2007, the way that experience changed, the user's experience changed from the normal button phones that they had, and just presenting it to, with completely touch screens, no buttons at all, except for the one home button that was there. And nowadays even that is not there. It's totally different. So that's where, the UX designers or UX role come into picture, like how we can improve or decrease the gap between the human as well as the machine, and how well we can make them interact to get their things done, like there, in the sense, like the end users things done much easier, without less interaction. Even though we call it user interface, we'll try to keep the interactions as less as possible, so that they can just complete their journey. And the image on the right hand side is just just a portrait of how the space shuttle, how it was before, with all those switches and all those stuffs there. And the latest one that you see is in the one that the SpaceX just recently launched, the Dragon 2. So if you see, the difference between those is like, there's a lot of difference in the user experience. The user over there is mainly the people who's flying the space shuttle. So the experience that they will have, like clicking all those buttons, and then rather than seeing the stats and all those and just touching things to get things done, the way that experience changes is different. So that's what UX people do, UX designers do. So there are many different um, before going into the terminologies, so these are the different sections. So if you see, the user experience designer will be mainly human focused. They'll be doing researches on the users, the targeted audience, and then design things, or design the application, or say the product based on those researches. Whereas UI developer is the one who brings that design, that concepts into reality with all those front-end frameworks, HTML, CSS, and all those. And the back-end people, of course, they are the one who, gives the info, like do all the big monster stuff as you saw in the first image. So moving on, so the image that you see here are the different, I won't say terminologies, but different aspects of UX designer or UI developer, the roles that they will be doing. So we'll go through each one of it. Like I'll just explain like what each one means, and what how do they do that. So the main reason why that I'm giving it to you, so you can know like how or what the life of a UX developer, or sorry, a UX designer or a UI developer would be. So so if you see that for the UX, we'll start from the UX side, from the left side. So it will be mainly the interaction designs, prototypes, information architect, research, scenarios, and all. So each one has its own aspects. Okay, so whenever as a UX designer, whenever a product is about to be made, or or an application is about to be made, the main thing that one one user will be, or a UX designer will be looking into is how, or how will we be putting this application in front of the user, or what is indentation behind it. So mainly the requirement gathering, and what is the objective of the product or the application. So that's what the UX designer will be understanding, should have better understanding about, because they are the ones who will be shaping that product for for the people out there. And so the interaction design, so what does that mean? So interaction design is a sector where which is mainly about knowing how the user, the targeted audience. So whenever a product is developed, or is about to be created, we will definitely be looking into the type of people that will be using it. For example, if it is say say for example a financial site, where you see the stocks, and where you can trade those stuffs. So there it will be mainly the people who will be interested in financing, like financial advisors, and then people who frequently invest in uh, uh, their stocks and stuffs. So and if you are taking, for example, an online shopping site, the story is completely different there. So you have a wide range of customers, users over there, from youngsters to elders, and all of them will the objective will be the same, like the customer journey will be the same, like you are looking for a product, and the end will be like buying it. But how can we make the user interact, or how will the user interact from point A to point B to complete this journey? So that's what interaction design mainly talks about, like the different ways the user can interact with that application, like by clicking on the button, or whether it can be just like swiping left, swiping right, and it can give you new experience on going to the next stage and all those. And another thing, I'll take information architect. So when you so all this interact after the interaction. So in information architect, it is like yes. So we are, so for example, I'll explain it with an example. So we have this online shopping site where you will be having different information that is placed in different ways. Okay, so how can we, so if you're having a product, how can we put the information, or what should be, how should it be prioritized, and how should it be linked from one information to the another. All those information layouts and all those will be done at that point. So for example, if a user goes in and types in user say searching for to buy a watch, so he types in watches, then we lay out some, the first screen will be just having the images and the prices, and if there are any offers, that, and then just the star ratings of it. And then again, you click it, you go inside, and then you see much more details. So if you see, like, the UX designer will definitely be having all this information. Okay, these are the complete. So he, say for example, for a watch, he'll be getting all those details in front of him. But it is not like that has to be put all together onto the screen. It's completely different. It's not like just putting it in one single page, HTML page, and just let him scroll through. So the information will be mostly, if you see nowadays, it's given to the user as and when it is required. For example, taking the same example of the UX designers, there will be the online shopping site. What they will be doing is they will be first looking they'll be searching for the content that they're planning to buy, say for example watches, and then so the first information will be just the ratings and all those, and then as it goes down, much more technical or product specifications will be there. And then if it is needed, then the user reviews would be given, so that would be either in a separate tab, or as you scroll down it comes up, and the user can go through it. But the main actions and all those, or the summary of the information will be readily available right in front of him as soon as he lands on that screen. So information architecture is mainly like how we put the information in front of these people. And then we have the user research. Okay, so that's an important sector where the user UX designer spends most of the time, because for a product or for an application to move in the right path, we should first know who the users are, or how they will be using our our product. So it is done through many ways. Like for example, the usability testing that will be done. So when does user research happen? So if you take the example of Android mobile OSs, so if you see, there are in every versions that goes ahead, you will have different different features coming in. The usability would be improving much and more. This one. So how do they do that? How are they improving the user experience? We see this mainly through feedbacks, through surveys and stuff like that. So for example, if you see, we'll be having alpha versions or beta versions of certain products. So this is mainly to they'll let it out, and they'll gather all the feedbacks from the user and see whether it's going as per their expectations, whether the user is using it as per their expectations, whether their journeys or the customer journeys or the user journeys are going properly in that application. So all this will be taken into account, and if needed, that is where the user research. And moreover, they will also be looking into, commodity products. For example, if it is I know an online shopping site A, then they'll be looking into, the other competitions out there like BCD, like Amazon, looking into Flipkart and stuff like that. So they will be, all the analysis and all those will be set out. And then that's after all this, like, how the uh, interaction designs and information architect and researching about how what the users would be. We'll also be defining, the scenarios. Okay, so there will be many users for a product. So so there will be different ways of how the user would be reaching from point A to point B. Need not be the single one. So all those scenarios. So what can be those scenarios for for a product. So for example, if you are like buying, let's take the example of online shopping again. So if you are like buying something, some small gadgets like selfie sticks or something. So mainly what you'll be looking is like, okay, the price and whether it's like so. First thing the user would be like, okay, he'll be just comparing it and see how it is. Like for example, say he searches for selfie sticks, he'll be getting a lot of options in front of him. So the first thing that the user will be doing is like comparing the prices, and then if the prices is low for something, he'll just first, then the next stage or the next step that he does or we do will be the ratings. How much rating has been given for that product? How good is that? Okay, and then it will be like mostly going in and buying it. But in the same site, when you are buying a product like laptop or mobile phones, you will go much more deeper. It won't be just the price and the user ratings. You will also go to the product specifications, like how good is that, uh, the configurations like the RAM, the memory, the CPU, how good that is. And then you might also dig into the user reviews for that and see how good it is. So these are different scenarios of how a customer can, reach from searching for a product and buying it. Okay, so that journey, those journeys are defined as scenarios, different scenarios that the user can go through. So once all this is done, or kind of done, the next thing is like, so all this is you know learned, and you will have the output of it. So now it is like mainly where all this is put into a box. So that's where the wireframes and the prototyping happens. So in the prototyping, the wireframes, you won't be like, creating all those jazzy or popping colors and all those. It will be just, you're just putting out the, so as you see in the image, it will be just telling, okay, there'll be a box here, and this box will contain this information, and you will have kind of a scrolling part here. So if it is, for example, some applications for the mobile, so you will be just creating those wireframes and or the prototyping side. um, you know a layout of the mobile, or if it is a desktop, you will be just putting it in a mobile. So there are multiple tools that can be used for that. For example, Barsmec and stuff like that. So where you can define like for what layout you are creating the wireframe for. If it is a mobile, you can choose the resolution of it. If it is desktop, that. And nowadays, even if you see the same information has to be shown in the desktop as well as in the mobile. So responsive web. So how that information from the desktop can be put into mobile, and how can we summarize it or shorten it for the smaller displays. So all those wireframing and prototyping happens there. So that's what the role of UX mainly does. Okay, so mainly they'll be, you know, knowing how the humans will be interacting, and uh, the user will be, or it's just like, how the user will be interacting with our product. And now the UI developer comes in. So what does he do? So he would be mainly going in with the inputs that is given by UX. So when I say UX and UI, you would be probably thinking, so it's like whether so they are, two different people traveling in the same boat, like with the same agenda. So the agenda, as I said before, is like, delivering that, that cute little fluffy teddy bear outside there. So that is their agenda. But they are two different wings, two different people who has to fly together. It's like the wings of a bird. It has to flap together to deliver the actual, uh, the need of the product. So like how the wings has to be flat together so that the birds can fly. It's the same way. So what the UI people will do is like, they get the all the informations, like, okay, the how what information has to be put in the different scenarios, and the interaction and all. So what the UI developer does is like they are the ones who brings out the concepts given by the UX developer to the real world, to into reality. So they does it by putting in colors for the wireframes or prototypes that is created, and the visual designs, the layouts, the fonts. All this will be done by. So all this will be done by the UI people. Um, so it's not so when I said like, okay, they'll be adding the colors and the fonts, it's not as easy as that, because just for adding color, there are many things that the UI developers will have to think about. So for example, one of it will be the branding, or the branding colors. For example, for TCS, for my company, it would be emerald blue. So most of our taglines or the headers will be, and the footers will be having that color. The not the I mean the applications developed for TCS. And similarly, like for the they'll be having their specific colors where they have to be added. So if you see, and also the colors for that brand would also be based on its purpose. Like for example, if you see Netflix, for example, the red, that there is the red and black combination that they're using, and the way that when you start Netflix in your TV, you would have seen that it comes and it goes into that different layers. So that gives us a feeling of what that application is. So that color is like, if you see it closely, is like the colors of the seats in a theater. The red color. If you have gone to our Lulu, I think it is red out there, and also that's how it will be. Uh, so colors has many meanings. Won't be just you know uh, like giving green or red, or just like that. Each one has its own meaning, like green, energetic; black, elegance, and pink for women's. So it has its own meanings, and then comes the layouts. So layout is like, so for example, for the in the prototype, they say, okay, we have to show a place where, for example, for taking a bank, an online banking site where the transaction has to be shown. There are different ways we can put that information. Like we can put it as a table or a grid, in which we can bring in features like sorting it out according to date or according to the amount that is being sent, and the different readily available information, and what can be hidden and all those stuffs, and how it can be hidden, and the way the things, uh, the the information can be shown to them. So don't confuse it with the information architecture. So when I say information to be shown to them, it's like, okay, um, for a site where where, for example, take the example of a grid, for example, where tabular structure is shown. The spacing between the text as and the box, or the cell, is very important. The spacing actually brings up the readability, accept and aspect of the uh, view. So if the space is very less, the user will be finding a difficulty to take that row and read it out, or just to navigate through that row just through his view. But if the spacing is correct, and the colors chosen and the fonts chosen is correct, the user can be the user will be able to quickly grasp what is shown on the screen. uh, and there are many other ways that things are put up. So if you see, like, in applications where we'll have different colors buttons. So in the previous world, it was like a previous world, in the sense, like 5 or 6 7 years back, you'll have colors for all the buttons, like green, red, blue, and all. So now if you see, it will be just, you'll have a colored button and a non-colored button. So all this is done, for specific reasons. So I'm not going in depth for it. So this are readily available over internet. You can definitely search for it. The different reasons between the colorings and the color theories. That's a big thing. And also the UI developers will be the people who will be also considering the accessibility. So when I say accessibility, it is not just you know um, so say, for example, the online shopping site, or for an online banking site, there will be people who will be using it, who's having color blindness, or who can't see, and all those. So people who's watching YouTube, people can't hear. The people who can't hear will also be watching, because that's why we have that what you say, subtitles and it. So all this is based on user experience. So all these are things that is enhancing user experience for an application or for a product. Okay, so that's what the UI people will be doing. And just listed on, so what I told, like, different phases, a life of a UX designer. So what he does, he understands the requirements, creates user scenarios, use cases, how the different, as I said, the different flow from point A to point B, how and all the user can navigate to that. And then doing research on so whenever we are developing something, there are possibilities in this new world. Things just pops up very fast. So there will be someone who has already done that. Okay, so it is need not be a new thing that we are putting in, but what we can improve is actually the user experience. And that so the user experience can be improved, like, for example, knowing the pain points that is there in the competitive applications, and how we can resolve that in our world, in our application. And then knowing the latest the trends. So every day there are different trends that is coming up. And for example, if you see the different versions of Android, previously we had buttons to navigate between pages. We had a back button, a home button, and then a button to show the recent apps. But nowadays, even that is taken out. Like, you just have to swipe up at the corners, and then it does the exactly the same thing that is being done, and then the way notifications are shown. So there is something new that always comes up every day in the world of user interface or UX. And then the user, the ones knowing all this, that the sketching, that's where the the prototyping and all these things happens. So uh, they'll be using different tools, and they'll be taking it to different people to see whether the understanding, what he understood, the UX designer understood, is the same as the vision of the product being launched. So he'll be talking with the product managers or with the directors and all those, and then this would be then designed and implemented. And and then evaluate. So when you say evaluation is the place where have that alpha versions or the beta versions, or putting it in live and the user, making the user use it, and then improvising, by collecting the feedbacks. And for example, as soon as this call ends, you can see that you would be asked to rate the experience that you had with Google Meet. Like, you can give it stars. So if you are giving less stars, they will ask the reasons why and all. So these informations are actually, those that is collected back, and they will understand. And certain analytics will be done on it, so they will come to know, okay, these are the pain points that is currently the user is facing, and then they will try to improvise it, and then the next version comes in with all those issues fixed, or the bugs fixed, and that's how the evaluation happens. So this is how life of a UX designer goes in. Okay, so in the design and implement part is where mainly the UI developers also comes into into contact with the UX designers. So the tools that mostly just a second, I think, yeah. Before going into the tools, I just messed up the order. So before going into the tools, I would also like to. So that's the life of the UX designer, and UI developer is a bit different. So as mentioned, he would be in constant interaction with the UX team as well as the backend team. So the UI developer is the one who brings in the technologies into the concept that is given by the UX designer. So what he does, he will be going through like different frameworks. So if you see, like, day by day there are different front end frameworks that is coming in, like Angular, Vue, React, Next.js, and latest Svelte is coming up. So all this is something that would be used by a UI developer or a front end developer to bring those conceptual designs onto reality. So UI developer, nowadays, they do both, like they do the design as well as the implementation. So all those part which I talked about, the coloring and all those stuff will be also done by a UI architect or a UI developer, senior UI developer, and then also the part where whether that concept, like for example, the UX people will say, okay, we need this information to come up like this. So that the feasibility aspect is also uh, you know um, uh, pitched in by the UI developer, whether it's that is possible currently. And also, for example, there might be some thoughts of UX which won't be possible with uh, the frameworks that is being used inside the company or by the organization that is planning to bring up the product. So then that is where they look at options of, like, what other things can be used, and they'll try to bring in the license if it is license versions and for so that's how the life of the UI developer will be. So he will be the one who will be mainly using all those HTML, CSS, JS, blah 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 stuff. Okay, and then iterative reviews will definitely be there. So once he designs and all those actions or the implementation is done, he will be then, before even going live, it will be taken to the UX people. He'll be giving demos to the stakeholders in the sense, like the one who visioned that product. So so multiple reviews or multiple review iteration reviews will be happening to make sure that whatever has come to reality is is exactly the vision that was there for the product. And now moving back to the tools, it's obvious, like you would, if you just Google it out. So the ones that is listed down here are just something that some of them that just popped up in my mind. There are tons and tons of tools for UX designers as well as for UI developers. So um, each day you will have, new tools for user experience for the UX designers, which is kind of, improve user experience for the UX designers, which is used by the UX designers to uh, create a better user experience for the end users. So it's all connected. And then Adobe XD is kindly something that is used frequently nowadays, where it helps UX designer itself to put in images, show the prototypes with all the actions, rather than putting up boxes and layouts, just layouts and all those. And then the other tools that our UI developers uses are HTML, CSS, and then frameworks like React, Angular. Sorry, I have a typo over there. So yes. So if you see, like, so that's that. So, and this shows two things actually, different career paths in UX UI world, and also the, how different people interact, like who interacts with whom. So if you see, the contributor part is where all the actions happens. They are the one who puts concepts into reality, and the top managers will be the people who will be visioning that project, like sorry, the product, like how that should be given to the user. Okay, this is what the product should be doing, and all those. So the product managers are the one who, the product managers or the product designers are the one who mainly focuses on the business part of the product, whereas the UX designers or the UI people are the one who mainly concentrates on the customer journey of using this product. Okay, so nowadays, mainly, if you see the part where the contours of UX designer, senior, leads, and all. So mostly the lead and senior will be the same person, and at times all the three roles will be done by a single person based on their expertise, and especially if it is a startup companies and all. Mostly those roles will be done by a single or maximum 2 or 3 persons, whereas for a bigger company or something, or for an organization where they are actually concentrating on a completely new product, then the amount of UX designers will be more over there, because they need to uh, get the vision of the product, as well as to know the targeted audience, and shape that product very well. So these are the different steps with that. And another thing is, like, so UX UI, is it an easy job? If you see all the terminologies and all those being used, so if one needs to be a UX or UI, he should be ready to be not to be biased. That is one big thing, that because when I started my career, I was a bit biased, like, okay, why is there a stress in moving a component one peaks to the left or one peaks to the top. We should not be biased. The reason why I'm saying that, I'm stressing that point, is because you know um, humans, people, us, always, our vision or our needs changes dynamically. It's very frequent. Okay, so if you are having, for example, the example that I told about mobile. So previously we had buttons, and then it came to the touch screen. And then the way the touch screen was, first it was just single touch, and then multi-touch came into the picture. So the needs increased, and so whenever the user, okay, so I'm doing this with one finger, and then I'm have to click buttons there and here. But now if you have to, so previously if you have to take a screenshot, you have to press the volume button as well as the power button, and that's how it happens. But now you can just swipe with all those, 3 finger swipe, 2 finger swipe, left, right, and all those happens. So if you see, like, it's constantly changing, the world of UX and UI, especially for the UI developers. There are tons and tons of. So if you have subscribed to JavaScript Weekly, which is kind of a newsletter, a digital newsletter that comes out every month or so. So you can see the different uh, uh, different frameworks that is coming up, or different improvements that is coming up in the existing framework, and different features that they are bringing in for different for the technologies that is being used by a front end person. So it's constantly changing. So it's not easy. It's not an easy job. It's challenging. It's very challenging, but it's beautiful too, because you are the one who is actually making the gap between the machines as well as a human, as small as possible. So you are trying to make the application as human as possible, for so that a real human, when it interacts with them, is much more humanly like. The world is changing, and nowadays in this corona situations and in the new norms, people are moving to, going digital. Like, all the if you see, all the banks and all the supermarkets out there are trying to, build up their own e-commerce site and banking site, and trying to reduce, and the interaction between humans are reducing nowadays. Like, it's mainly online. Everything is available online. So our role will be like to keep it as simple as it is, like how they were interacting with the actual people. That's the same way we have to keep them interacting with the system. So that's the world of UX UI. I'm not. I didn't go much deep into it. So, I hope, like, explaining what each thing, because most of you, I believe, are from first year and second year, so you have a lot of time to explore the possibilities of this, the opportunities in it, and interested people can definitely go up the path of the UX UI. So that's it. That's about my session. Thank you all. So yeah, sir, back to you.